I know this might be one of the hardest things you'll ever hear after a breakup, because almost everyone says the same thing. I just need closure. You think if they would just explain, if they would just apologize, if they would just answer your questions, then you'd finally be able to move on. But after working with so many heartbroken people, I've come to believe something that may surprise you. Closure is mostly a fantasy. Not because conversations don't matter, sometimes they do. Not because apologies don't help, sometimes they help a lot. But because we expect closure to do something it was never designed to do. We expect it to remove pain, to erase confusion, to make the relationship make sense, to make us stop missing them. That's an impossible job. Think about it. Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head 100 times? Maybe they explained why they left. Maybe they told you they weren't ready. Maybe they said they fell out of love. Maybe they even apologized, and yet you still hurt. Why? Because information doesn't automatically heal emotion. You can understand exactly why someone left and still grieve. Understanding isn't the same thing as healing. Here's what I think most people are actually looking for. They're not looking for closure, they're looking for relief. They hope one final conversation will finally make their heart quiet. But hearts don't work that way. If they did, no one would ever grieve after a loved one died. No one would miss someone after an honest breakup. Pain doesn't disappear because your questions were answered. Pain fades because your life slowly grows around it. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Sometimes there isn't an explanation that'll satisfy you. Let's imagine your ex says, "I just wasn't happy anymore." Would that be enough? Probably not. So you ask, "Why weren't you happy?" They answer. Then you ask another question and another. Do you see what happens? The search for closure often has no finish line because every answer creates another question. Eventually you realize something profound. You weren't searching for information. You were searching for a reason that didn't hurt. But that reason doesn't exist. Some endings hurt, no matter how well they're explained. One of the biggest myths about closure is that another person can give it to you. No, another person can give you information. They can give you honesty. They can give you an apology. They can even give you compassion. But closure is something you create. And I know some people hate hearing that because it feels unfair. Why should I have to create closure when they cause the pain? Because if you don't, you're giving someone else permanent control over your peace. Think about that. You're saying, "I can't heal until you decide to help me heal." That's an enormous amount of power to hand someone, especially someone who may never use it wisely. Here's something I've noticed. People who desperately want closure often imagine the perfect conversation. Their ex says exactly the right words, admits every mistake, explains everything beautifully, cries, takes responsibility, tells them how amazing they are, and somehow every wound disappears. But that's fantasy. Real conversations are messy. People forget things. People become defensive. People rewrite history. People minimize. People avoid. People protect themselves. Sometimes they simply don't understand themselves well enough to explain what happened. You're asking imperfect human beings to deliver perfect emotional resolution. That's a very high expectation. Now, here's the irony. Sometimes people actually get the conversation they've been begging for, and afterwards, they still don't feel better. You know why? Because they confused explanation with emotional repair. The explanation answered their mind, but the wound was living somewhere much deeper. Healing doesn't happen because someone finally says, "I'm sorry." Healing happens because you slowly stop organizing your life around what happened. You stop waking up every morning hoping they'll call. You stop checking their social media. You stop rehearsing imaginary conversations. You stop waiting for justice to arrive before allowing yourself to be happy. That's closure. Not because someone gave it to you, because you stop asking them for permission to move forward. Let me ask you something. Imagine your ex called you tonight. They answered every question perfectly. Would it bring the relationship back? No. Would it erase the lonely nights? No. Would it undo the betrayal? No. Would it give you back the months you spent grieving? No. It might comfort you, and comfort has value, but comfort isn't the same thing as healing. Here's what I think real closure sounds like. Not, "Now I finally understand them," but "I don't need to understand everything to move forward." That's emotional maturity, because life doesn't always give us complete answers. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes they betray us. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they disappear. Sometimes they never explain themselves. And somehow, millions of people still build beautiful lives afterwards, not because they got closure, because they stopped waiting for it. The greatest act of closure isn't hearing someone say, "I'm sorry." It's hearing yourself say, "I deserve peace whether you apologize or not." Read that again. I deserve peace whether you apologize or not. That's freedom, because your peace no longer depends on another person's choices. It belongs to you. And once it belongs to you, no one can take it away again. If you'd like my help getting to that place, I'd love to welcome you into my school community where people from all over the world are healing together through live coaching, practical tools, honest conversations, and support from people who truly understand what you're going through. And if you'd like more personal guidance, you can book a one-on-one coaching session or an RTT session with me. Or if you don't want to wait, you can be talking to me today on Pop Call. We can connect by voice, video, or chat, whatever feels most comfortable for you. You'll find all the links in my bio. Remember this, closure isn't the moment someone finally explains why they hurt you. Closure is the moment you realize you no longer need them to. That's when your life truly begins again.